In California, there are 5 phases of the sex offender commitment program, which is designed to treat sexually violent predators.
The final phase of that process involves releasing the felon back into the community under conditional provisions. In this special report, KUSI's Ginger Jeffries takes a look at Allan James, who was released less than 4 months ago.
56-year-old Allan Earl James, a twice convicted child sex offender, found guilty of kidnapping and raping children. He served a portion of his sentence, and now he's part of the conditional release program and lives in this home paid for by taxpayers. He's listed on the district attorney's website as a sexually violent predator.
The first time there, I was 5 years old, and then we did it again when I was 11. And not just for me, but my siblings as well.
Police reports show in graphic detail years of sexual abuse committed by James. The victims, from 4 to 11 years old, detail multiple times: he made me pull my pants off, perform oral sex, lay on our bellies, and were raped or sodomized. One incident happened the night before Christmas. He used threats of violence to keep the children quiet.
As a child, you don't understand what's going on. You don't, you just know that something feels wrong, but you don't know what, and you don't know what to do.
In 1981, James agreed to a plea deal for 1 count of lewd act upon a child and was sentenced to 3 years probation and 180 days in jail. The crimes against the 2 male children were not included in this deal and dissolved.
And, it's just unbelievable. Oh my God, I can't believe this is actually happening. I really can't.
In 1986, James was back in police custody. This time, charges included kidnapping. Court documents show he would pose as an officer in order to lure a child inside his van. James was convicted of multiple sex crimes involving children, unlawful sexual intercourse, unlawful touching, and kidnapping for the purpose of child molest. The victims in this case were all minors once again, and the crimes all happened in San Diego County. James was sentenced to 28 years in prison. After serving 13 years in prison, he was civilly committed to a state hospital and labeled a sexually violent predator. These changes were possible after the Sexually Violent Predator Act was passed in California. James begins a treatment program, learning how to manage his urges. The program is funded by the state and costs more than $200,000 per year per patient. Now, while in this program, convicted sex offenders are no longer called inmates, they are now patients through a process called civil commitment. A civil commitment is a legal process for people who have symptoms of a severe mental disorder. They're ordered by the court to receive treatment at a hospital. A civil commitment also allows patients to petition the court for release. At that point, authorities review doctors' testimony.
The judge relies often on the testimony of experts and reports. So someone does what we call a sexually violent predator evaluation, where they interview the person, and often there are some standardized tests that are given, and they basically help rate their actuarial tools. They help rate the level of risk.
3 times from 2014 to 2017, the district attorney's office opposed James's petition for release. Then in 2018, James petitioned again, and this time was approved for release. He now lives in Jacumba Hot Springs, about a mile from the city's community center. This is a conditional release, so James must wear an ankle monitor as well as attend meetings and counseling. He's not being allowed to drive, so a chaperone has been assigned to him for an undetermined amount of time. Cost of his living conditions and monitoring is estimated at more than $600,000 for the year, all depending on how long the chaperone is assigned. These conditions are set up by a program officials use to determine if the program has been successful or not. But experts say their system is not foolproof.
There are cases where people come out and they don't commit another crime. There are cases where they commit a crime and we never hear about it, because they've learned how to be more sneaky and hide in plain sight. And there are cases where they come out and they commit a crime and it's discovered, and it happens again, and the experts were wrong. So that's the nature of the decisions that we try to make.
The laws have changed since the 80s, so now there's more severe penalties for child sexual abuse. By today's standard, James could have received life in prison for his crimes. As far as the cost of James's incarceration and treatment, 13 years in prison plus 19 years at a state hospital, taxpayers have spent at least $4.5 million on Allan James.
Again, that was Ginger Jeffries reporting.
All right, we'll be back with more Good Morning San Diego right after these commercial words.